A very good evening, everyone, in person. Thank you so much for coming for our reopening session with a guided meditation, and welcome everybody online. And thank you for joining us for this meditation. Am I audible at the back? Can you hear? Yeah? Okay. A little louder. Okay, I'll try. So, yes, welcome back to Tushita. For those who came before, we had, usually we close June, July, when it's very hot. Now it's starting to get a little bit cooler again. So we took the opportunity to do some renovations here, to further, because it's a basement, so to further improve the waterproofing. Last year, we got completely flooded. You remember the day in the airport, the roof collapsed. The same day here, we got completely flooded. So we switched from a wooden floor to tiles, and gradually now the walls are also waterproofed and so forth. So hopefully we can, be comfortable here for a long time without any problem now. So without further ado, let us start with our meditation. We will start with a short, placement meditation to settle the mind, to calm the mind, to arrive here in this space, to focus, to concentrate, so that in the second part, what we will do is an analytical meditation to generate the mind of full awakening, or the mind of Bodhicitta. That's how it is called in Sanskrit. So if you're comfortable sitting on the floor, that would be the best. If you're sitting on the chair, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not leaning against the support of the chair, not leaning too much forward either. The idea is that, the back is straight, the body is upright, but at the same time not stiff. Make sure you're sitting comfortably and relaxed in a relaxed way. You can imagine there is like a string pulling from the crown of your head, keeping your body upright, but at the same time, your shoulders are loose and relaxed, and you can easily turn from left to right like this. Your body is relaxed, even though it is upright. So traditionally, when we sit on the floor, the ideal is to sit in the full lotus posture, meaning, each foot is resting on the opposite leg. That might be a little bit challenging, so make sure you're sitting comfortably. Sitting just cross-legged is perfectly fine. You can sit in a half lotus as well, or you can sit even the way they sit in Burma, with one leg in front of the other. That is another way to sit. Just make sure you're comfortable, that you can, sustain the position without, feeling pain here in the knees or anywhere. And of course, feel free to move if you start, feeling pain. Get comfortable, and if you want to switch from the chairs to the floor, also you can, or vice versa. Feel free to change at any time. Also, traditionally, we place the hands in the mudra of concentration, in the dhyana mudra. So we have the right hand on top of the left, the two thumbs are slightly touching, and this rests in your lap. Allow some space between your arms and your body, to allow some air to pass. So again, the back is straight, the shoulders are even and relaxed. The neck is aligned in the continuation of the spine. You can very gently tilt the head forward, but not much. When we tilt the head a lot, we tend to fall asleep. And when it's facing upwards, then we tend to be distracted with so many thoughts. So we're trying to find a middle way, which is just, in the continuation of the spine to align the neck. One tip of the ancient masters is to place your tongue just behind your upper teeth, towards your upper palate. This helps to reduce the production of saliva while you meditate, and so, it doesn't become a distraction to swallow your saliva all the time. Of course, you will still produce saliva and you'll still, swallow it, but a little bit less when you place your tongue like this. And finally, you might find this surprising. we don't meditate with the eyes completely closed. We leave them slightly opened, not completely open, not completely closed, just to allow some light to enter. This helps to keep us alert, but not too much open, and also not focusing, not paying attention to whatever appears in front of our eyes. It is the mental consciousness, that meditates. So the eye consciousness, we try not to pay attention. Whatever appears, we don't focus on that, we focus on the mental events. So an advantage of that as well is that, in the future you can meditate with eyes open or closed, you can choose. But if you start meditation with eyes closed and you familiarize yourself with eyes closed, then it becomes very challenging to do it with eyes open. So this posture is known as the Buddha Vairochana 7-point meditation posture, which is very conducive for meditation. The most important point, I would say, of these 7 is for the body to be upright. This really helps to, keep us alert, and for the, subtle winds in the body to flow, so that the mind can focus on our object of meditation. So that is for the body. Now let us look, what are we actually going to meditate on? Let us look at the mind. What is the mind going to focus on? So here what I would suggest for this placement meditation, for this settling, calming meditation, is to focus on the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. As you breathe in, you might feel there's like a little bit of a cool sensation there at the entrance of the nostrils if you really pay attention. Maybe when you breathe out, you feel that the air is now a little bit warmer. So try to focus on that sensation, on that feeling there at the entrance of the nostrils. Not the body part as such, but whatever feeling you have there, whatever tactile sensation you have there, when you breathe in and out. Try to place all your focus on that. Now you will see that when we do that, we tend to get distracted. It's not the most interesting object in the universe, right, to meditate on, the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. So very easily, either thoughts will come, we'll be distracted with thinking about, what we're going to have for dinner tonight, or something that happened this afternoon, something that happened on the way here, or an important meeting tomorrow, something like that. And the second way we tend to get distracted is with mental laxity or dullness or lethargy. We tend to fall asleep. Maybe you had a long day, this object of meditation is boring, then you have a tendency to fall asleep, and therefore we also lose the object of meditation. These are the two, we could call the two enemies of meditation. Mental distraction, like mental excitement, and mental laxity or dullness or lethargy. So the good news is we have 2 antidotes that we can use to counteract these. And this is what this meditation is all about, is in training in using these antidotes. Instead of being familiar with our, distractions, gradually bringing the antidote and becoming familiar with those. So these antidotes are called introspection and mindfulness. Introspection, you can imagine it is like an agent in the background of your mind that is constantly looking at your mind. What is it doing? Is it meditating? Or is it thinking about dinner? Or is it falling asleep? Basically, is it focused on the object of meditation or not? This is what introspection is doing in the background, constantly looking. Then the moment introspection realizes that we are not focused on the object of meditation, we make use of the second antidote, mindfulness. And the role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back. Whether it is distracted with thoughts or with lethargy, we bring the mind back onto the object of meditation, making sure it remains there. I always use the analogy. You can imagine if you have a pet dog at home and the dog runs away. So introspection will notice that the dog is gone, Mindfulness will bring the dog back home. And you can also imagine tying him against a pillar at home so that he remains there. It doesn't run away anymore, you know? So it's a bit similar to what we are trying to do with our mind, training our mind to use introspection and mindfulness. So let us try this for about 5 minutes. And then we will do the second meditation on bodhicitta. You can gently come out of the meditation. Anybody was able to remain on the breathing sensation for 5 minutes without distraction? But were you able to use the antidotes? Or for 5 minutes did you think about something totally different than the breathing sensation?
I was distracted every minute.
Every minute. But you notice and then you come back, right? That's good. That's what we are, this is what meditation is about. Training to do that. Yes. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So you see here we did a very short session, 5 minutes. And it is advised, when we begin with meditation, to actually keep our sessions short. Because at the end of 5 minutes, perhaps we feel we want to do it for longer, we want to meditate more. So this is a very good sign that we will again engage in the practice and we will gradually, train in the antidotes and progress in terms of our focus, our concentration. On the other hand, if we were doing this as a beginner for 1 or 2 hours, at the end of 1 or 2 hours, we might feel exhausted. And then the next time we see the meditation cushion, we will, have aversion towards it. Before I forget, I would like to talk about these books here. So, to do these renovations here, and also, last month was the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So we made a fundraising campaign, an online fundraising campaign to have the funds for the renovations here, and also to offer, 1 lakh rupees on behalf of Tushita and everybody who comes here to, for the long life celebrations for His Holiness, the long life pujas. So if any of you contributed to that fundraising campaign, please approach Purbu at the back or me at the end of the session, and you can collect these 2 newly published books from Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive. They just arrived here from the US. One is from Lama Yeshe and it's called Clean Clear. It is teachings on refuge, bodhicitta, and the nature of the mind. And then here we have a photo book. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, they were both Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche founded, Tushita and the whole Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition, about 130 centers, projects, and services all around the world. And Tushita is one of them. And here it is a very newly published book also from a photo book with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who, used to, there were many ways he was benefiting others, and one way to benefit, children or so forth, he would write on stuffed animals some, wise thoughts or some mantras, and then he would recite so many, prayers and mantras, and then blow on these stuffed animals to also benefit whoever, have these stuffed animals at home. There is a story of somebody who was, very sick, and there was no progress, was not going back to health, and then received one of the stuffed animals from Rinpoche and started to recover, gradually. So anyway, those are many photos of all of these stuffed animals, and you can read also what is written on them. So, yeah, and some, here for example, on one of the animals it is written Om Mani Padme Hum, the famous mantra, and here it is explained what are the benefits of reciting this mantra. So it's just one example of the many pages. So if you donated to our fundraiser, please approach us at the end of the session and collect these books. If you didn't give to our fundraiser, don't worry. We also have recently printed these books here in Delhi. It is actually a combination of 2 books by Lama Yeshe. One is called Becoming Your Own Therapist, and the other one is called Make Your Mind an Ocean. So these books you can collect in the staircase. There is a new cupboard there, and you can collect 1 or more, as many as you want, if you want also to, offer to your family and friends, no problem. We printed many of those here in Delhi. Okay. I was just worried that I would forget to talk about this at the end, so that's why I mentioned it now. So hopefully with this short calming meditation, our mind is now a little bit more focused, and we can, try to do an analytical meditation to try and generate the mind of awakening, the mind of bodhicitta. So there are actually two methods to generate this mind, and the teachers, they advise us to use these two methods at least once a day, ideally at least twice a day, morning and evening, to gradually familiarize ourselves with those states of mind, to change from our, I don't know about you, but personally, a lot of my thoughts are, self-centered. I'm thinking about, my comfort, my pleasure, my this, my that. So to gradually change from that to also, considering others and wanting to help others, wanting to benefit others, to actually, how Lama Yeshe puts it here, to make the mind an ocean, to make the mind very vast, So these two methods are called, the first one is called the sevenfold cause and effect method, and the second one is called equalizing and exchanging oneself for other. And what is generally advised is that, like, perhaps on alternate days you use one or the other method, and then when you have a little bit of more time, you use the combination of the two methods, which is what we are going to do now, where some steps from the first method are used and some steps from the second method are used into one single meditation session. So this is what we will do now, to try and get a taste of gradually changing our mind from thoughts about self to gradually think about others, and eventually, wish others well, but also, engage in the well-being of others, take responsibility, and finally generate this mind of awakening, this wish to achieve the state of full awakening in order to benefit them in the best way. Somebody who has achieved full awakening, who has become a Buddha, has also, achieved a state of omniscience, and therefore knows, how to guide beings depending on their, capacity, knows their different faculties, knows their past karmas, and knows how to guide in the best way. So this is the purpose, of this meditation, to gradually change our mind. So there is one teacher one day who said, if we were to meditate on bodhicitta twice a day, every morning, every evening, with consistency, doing it every single day, then, over 1 or 2 decades, perhaps, for sure, some change will operate in the mind. It is really something we can do. It just works through familiarity. The steps are not very difficult. It's just about actually doing them, So here, just to give you a taste, what you can do, at home, in your own time. So we can again, come back in a comfortable posture to start our meditation. We can take 3 slow breaths and deep breath so that the stomach rises and falls as we breathe in and out. As we breathe in, we try to refresh our attention, our concentration. As we breathe out, we try to relax. the first step to generate the mind of awakening is to actually kind of level the ground between all beings. Recognizing that just like myself, absolutely everyone wants to be happy. There is not one being who wants to suffer. What others do or say is motivated by that same wish that we all share, wishing for happiness, wishing not to suffer. We all have that same motivation. So there is actually no good reason to discriminate between friends, enemies, strangers. All of them have that same basic intention. So in that way we try to generate a mind of equanimity, considering all sentient beings as being the same in that regard. We can see in our experiences in life that friends can become enemies, enemies can become strangers, enemies can become friends, strangers can become friends, enemies, and so forth. If we actually consider rebirth, consider that before this life we had other lives, we can also imagine that who we call our friend now perhaps was our enemy in a past life. Who we call our enemy now perhaps was our partner in a past life. We don't really, we cannot see beyond this life, so we don't know who is who. So we can assume if we had countless lives before this one, and there are countless beings that at one point or the other, each of these beings have been our friend, our enemy, and of course, so many times, strangers to us. So this gives us, again, a reason not to discriminate between friends, enemies, strangers. Not only they all have the same motivation, the same wish to be happy, same wish not to suffer, but also in the past, most likely all of them have harmed us and all of them have benefited us. Speaking of rebirth, the next step is the step is called remembering that all beings have been our mother. Again, if we consider that before this life we had countless lives, since time immemorial, without a beginning, we have been living again and again and again, taking rebirth. And there are countless other sentient beings. Then, at one point or the other, each of those beings is just mathematic, basically, this step. Each of these have been our mother at one point. if in this life you didn't know your mother or you had a difficult relationship with your mother, you can think, every sentient being in past lives have been my caregiver, as the person who helped you, growing up. Somebody who took care of you as a child. The next step is to remember their kindness, the kindness of your caregiver, the kindness of your mother. You can remember in this life when you were a young child, how your mother or your caregiver was always making sure, you have food, you have clean clothes. You can also imagine the pain your mother had when you were in her womb for 9 months, the pain of delivering, waking up at night to feed you when you were crying or to take care of you. The kindness of, making sure you were clean. Feeding you, perhaps taking you to school. And you can imagine up to now, as long as you had your mother or your caregiver, up to that point or up to now, how many acts of kindness you have received from that person. His Holiness the Dalai Lama often reminds us that a newborn cannot survive if he doesn't receive affection. If a newborn is just, left alone, will not survive. He needs love and care. So we all benefited from that kindness in this life. Now try to imagine in a past life, at one point or the other, we have been reborn as a bird in a nest, totally helpless in the nest, cannot fly yet, cannot hunt. So imagine the mother bird going out to hunt different insects, killing them to feed you. In the teachings, killing is the most important non-virtue one can do, the most terrible karma one can accumulate. So just to feed you, your mother bird committed the action of killing so many times. Another example we can use to think of the kindness of the mother is seeing for example, in Africa, you can see on television, like in National Geographic Channel, something like that, when zebras, for example, are attacked by lions or tigers and so forth. If a baby zebra, for example, is attacked, or a young zebra is attacked, the mother, without any second thought, will put herself between her child and the predator. Without any hesitation, she will give her life to save her baby, to save her child. So if we consider rebirth, this has happened to us numberless times. We received incredible kindness from our mothers and caregivers. So naturally, when we think of all the kindness we have received, naturally there is a wish that comes to repay that kindness. To be at least equally kind to others. To be equally kind to all sentient beings who, at one point or the other in the past, have been our mother, have been our caregiver, who gave us so much kindness. So at least we want to be equally kind with them. Now, if you think about rebirth, you might think, if they all have been my mother in the past, I also have been their mother countless times in the past. So I have already kind of repaid that kindness. But the kindness we are talking about here is the ultimate kind of kindness. We're not talking only about taking care, feeding, and so forth. We are talking about the kindness of establishing them in a path that leads to the cessation of pain, of worry, of sorrow, of misery. Establishing them in a path that leads to a perfect happiness. This is how much we want to repay the kindness of others. Try to generate that thought within yourself. All the kindness I have received, now I want to repay that kindness. I want to establish everyone in a path that leads to perfect happiness. So the first step, we tried to generate a mind of equanimity between friends, enemies, and strangers. Now this next step is about also equalizing ourselves with others. You know, we all have At least I have this innate feeling that I naturally feel that I am more important than others. I kind of feel that I am the center of the universe, that everything revolves around me. But if I check, there is no good logic behind this feeling, behind this impression, behind those thoughts. Because just like myself, everyone else wants to be happy. Everybody wants to avoid suffering. Not only that, I am only one. Others are numberless. So it makes absolutely no sense to think that I am more important than others. Try to generate this thought in your mind that myself and all beings are equally important. Then let us contemplate, let us reflect all these thoughts that we have about making ourselves happy. Basically, all the self-cherishing thoughts that we have, and all the actions and words that come out of that. How have they helped us? Let's say we receive a small box of our favorite sweets that, maybe it's a sweet that comes once a year and we're so happy to receive this small box. Is it making us happy to take all of those sweets and just eat them on our own? Or is it making us happier when we also share that box with others? Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to encourage us to contemplate how the self-cherishing mind, how it has not benefited us at all in the past. The fact that we are, still having unpleasant experiences in our lives, experiences of pain, of suffering, sorrow, misery. Since time immemorial, we have been following that mind of self-cherishing, thinking about ourselves before others. It has not brought us the happiness that we're naturally seeking, happiness that is a constant happiness, a stable happiness, a total freedom. It has not brought us that. In fact, this self-cherishing mind has kept us trapped in what we call samsara, in cyclic existence, basically the prison of our own mind. Where Sometimes we are reborn as a human, but sometimes we are reborn as an animal or in other states of rebirth, where we have all kinds of experiences. Pleasant and unpleasant experiences that we cannot actually choose. They are dictated by the karmas we have accumulated in the past. We don't have a choice what is going to happen tonight. What is going to happen tomorrow and the weeks and the years to come. We cannot choose, we don't have the freedom to choose. It is all dictated by the karmas we have accumulated in countless past lives. So our self-cherishing has not helped us in that regard, has not made us free from samsara. The opposite, it has kept us there. So we looked at the past, now let us look at the present and future. It has not benefited us in the past. Is it benefiting us in the present? If I do or say things out of the wish to benefit myself, is it helping me? Is it making me happy? In fact, it is keeping my mind very narrow, no? If I'm thinking only about myself. Doesn't make me feel at ease if I'm just thinking about myself, if I'm so self-concerned. It is not making me engage in virtuous actions. Actions that will, have a positive impact and that will result in positive action, positive, like pleasant sensations and so forth. Good experiences, pleasant experiences. And if I carry on like this, only thinking about myself, then in the future also I will not engage in virtuous actions, benefiting others. I will not accumulate positive karma, and it will again keep me trapped in samsara. Now, on the other hand, let us contemplate and reflect on the advantages of cherishing others. If we go back to that, small box of sweets that we received and we consider so precious, when we share it with others, instead of keeping it to ourselves, we can immediately feel the joy of sharing. The heart opens, the mind opens. So that's just a small example, but when we see someone in great suffering and there is something we can do about it, when we do it, not only we are helping the person, but we are also helping ourselves. It uplifts us. And helping others is a virtuous thing, so it's a virtuous action. So that also has a consequence, that has a result in the future. You can try to recall experiences that you had in your life where you helped others. Try to remember how you felt. Try to remember the joy that it brought you to be able to help. Now the two next steps are a little bit more practical. In Tibetan we call them tonglen. It is basically, of course it's a mental activity, we are using our imagination, but we are engaging in actually mentally helping others by imagining that we take on their suffering upon ourselves and that we give them all the happiness in the world. So the first step we will do is to take the suffering of others. So we can try to visualize around us countless beings who are trapped in samsara, and in samsara they experience all kinds of suffering. You can think of the animals in the wilderness, for example, who are constantly worried of being hunted by bigger animals. Even when they sleep, they are not completely at rest. It's as if the corner of their eye is still watching around, Is there a predator coming? They always have this fear. You can think of the suffering of, for example, to provide food in the different KFC in town. How these, all these chickens, how they are raised. Thousands of them in very small places. Even their beaks are cut, otherwise, they would hurt and kill themselves. Just waiting to be sent to the slaughterhouse. Try to imagine what kind of life that must be. You can think also of homeless people, people in the hospitals, people who have mental problems. Any kind of suffering you can think of, try to bring that to mind. And let us try to generate a sense of compassion. Let us try to generate this wish. May they be free from that suffering. May they be relieved from that suffering. And not only that evident suffering, that pain that they are going through, but also the suffering of taking rebirth again and again and again in samsara without any control. Let us wish for everyone to be free from that, to be free from suffering forever. So the practical meditation we can do here is to visualize all those beings around us and to imagine we actually take their suffering from them. You can visualize that in the form of like black smoke. Black smoke, you're taking that from them and they're relieved from their suffering. And you can imagine giving that black smoke to your self-centered attitude, to your self-cherishing mind. That you contemplated that is not useful. So you offer all this black smoke, all this suffering of others to your self-centered attitude, to your self-cherishing mind that you can visualize as like a tight black rock at your heart. And all this suffering, this black smoke, you offer to that black rock. Now, of course, that's the total opposite of what the self-centered attitude wants. It wants happiness for itself, and now we are giving it all the suffering in the world. So you can visualize that this black rock at your heart cannot stand that, cannot bear it. You can visualize taking all this black smoke, all this suffering. It cannot take it, so it explodes, it vanishes. And try to imagine you're liberated from that self-centered attitude, from that self-cherishing mind. Imagine what it must be like if it were gone. And the next step is giving. All those people, all those beings around us, we have taken all their suffering away from them. Now we do the opposite. We try to imagine giving them all the happiness in the world. Trying to give rise to this wish, may they be happy. So you can imagine giving them everything they wish for. The new iPhone, brand new car, whatever you can imagine. And you can visualize you give them that in the form of beautiful white light coming from your heart and entering the heart of all beings visualized around you. And not only material things, but also giving them good qualities, such as compassion, wisdom, giving them tools to achieve an everlasting happiness. From your heart, sending all this beautiful white light to all beings visualized around you. Try to visualize as fast as you can countless sentient beings. May they be happy. This is something we can try to do in our daily lives as well, when we run into people at the office, instead of thinking, oh, today he wore this shirt, I don't like it, or oh, today this and that. Just try to give rise to the thought, may you be happy. And see how your interaction gradually change with those people, even people at the office you don't necessarily enjoy the presence of, and so forth. Try to generate these good intentions. May you be happy. May you not suffer. Gradually it opens our heart, little bit by little bit. Then the next step, we are making a resolution. Having contemplated that my self-cherishing attitude has not brought me happiness, quite the opposite. It has brought me all the suffering that I've had until now, all the suffering that I will have in the future. Considering that benefiting others, in the other hand, brings me happiness, the resolution here is, from now on, instead of cherishing myself, I will cherish others. Instead of not cherishing others, I will not cherish myself. It's an actual decision that we are making here, having contemplated the merits of cherishing others and the demerits of cherishing oneself. From now on, I will cherish others. Then to further open our heart, let us try to recall that absolutely everything we have, absolutely everything we know is due to the kindness of others. Just the fact that we get food every day, how countless beings are involved in the production, transport, cooking, and so forth. Countless beings are involved. Even insects are involved. If it were not for others, we could not eat. The fact that we can understand each other, we learned language from others. The fact that we could come here today, countless people involved in the building of the roads, the metro, and so forth. Even just the fact that we have a roof above our heads, countless people involved. We have clothes. And imagine also, some of you came from Gurgaon. Imagine going back to Gurgaon by metro, and you're alone in the metro, there's nobody there. It feels kind of scary, right? To be alone in a metro. When others are there, we feel kind of safe, you know? Another example that Venerable Geshe Dorje Damdul often uses, the fact that we can, buy a pen for just a few rupees is due to the kindness of others because it is being massively produced. If we were to produce just one pen in the world, it would cost a fortune. It is so affordable because it is produced for so many people. So like that, try to recollect that everything you know, everything you have is due to the kindness of others. Then the next step, having contemplated the kindness of others, having contemplated the suffering of others, in fact the suffering of all sentient beings, ourselves included, having wished for all beings to be liberated from suffering, pain, misery, having wished for all beings to be happy, the next step is taking responsibility for that. I myself will liberate all beings from misery. I myself will establish all beings in everlasting happiness. Why this taking responsibility? Because I recognize that this time I have been born as a human being. Not only that, but a human being in a country that is at peace, a human being with all physical, mental faculties. Not only that, but in a world where the Buddha has come 2,500 years ago. Not only that, but he has extensively thought the methods to achieve happiness and cessation of suffering. Not only that, but these methods are still available to this day. Very widely, in fact, when we consider the new technologies. In just a few clicks, we can access so many teachings of the Buddha, so many teachings of contemporary teachers who have been receiving these teachings from generation to generation from the Buddha. For example, just on YouTube, you can watch so many teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's incredibly fortunate to have all these conditions. We can learn how to pacify our minds, how to create the causes for happiness and to stop the causes of suffering. Not only that, I'm actually interested to do that. I'm interested to look at my mind, I'm interested to look for happiness and stop the suffering by looking at the causes. When we look in the world, now 8.2 or 0.3 billion human beings, very few are actually interested to look at their minds. Even if we just consider Delhi, how many millions of people are living here and how many came here tonight. So rare to have this interest to look inwards. So this is why we generate this taking responsibility to help others, because now I have all the conditions to transform my mind to be able to help others. So it doesn't stay at a wish, may others be happy, but I myself will establish others in perfect happiness. Now, how can I do that? I myself am trapped in samsara since beginningless time. I myself, everything I do and say is motivated by the self-cherishing attitude. I myself have all these disturbing emotions such as anger, attachment, jealousy, hatred, so forth, pride. I myself am only experiencing the results of the karmas I have accumulated in the past. I don't have control over my experiences. I cannot decide what is going to happen tonight or tomorrow. So first, in order to help others, I must also help myself. I have to remove those mental afflictions, those delusions, such as the self-cherishing mind, jealousy, pride, anger, and so forth. I have to remove those from my mind. How can I do that? Is by realizing how things actually exist at the moment, All these delusions, anger, attachment, excessive desire, jealousy, pride, why do they come in my mind? Is because I have this impression that I'm more important than others, that I want to cherish that person over any other. And why does that impression comes, like that I'm the center of the universe? Is because I apprehend things as being very solid. I apprehend everything as existing in and of themselves, including the sense of I is very solid. As if this I here existed objectively, very solidly. So because of that, all the other problems come about. It's like the root of this poisonous tree. If I were able to cut that root, this impression that things exist very solidly, then the whole tree would fall down. So that root, we call it self-grasping ignorance. Grasping at phenomena, grasping at an I, to be as if it existed very solidly, objectively, independently from anything else. So if I were able to see that directly, see reality being empty of that objective existence, then gradually I could remove all these disturbing emotions, including the root, self-grasping ignorance. So I want to take responsibility to help others be free from suffering and experience happiness. The way to do that is to eliminate all my mental defilements. I can look in the history of humanity. There was one being who demonstrated, the Buddha Shakyamuni, 2,500 years ago. He found the middle way here in India, in Bihar, present-day Bihar, in Bodh Gaya. He sat under the Bodhi tree and understood how things actually exist. The middle way, free from the two extremes of a very solid intrinsic existence and of non-existence or nihilism. By meditating again and again on the absence of objective existence of all phenomena, the Buddha actually became the Buddha. Gradually removed all the mental veils, the afflictive veils that we talked about, as well as the cognitive veils, and achieved a state of full awakening and became a Buddha. And a Buddha, as we said earlier, has achieved a state of omniscience, knows perfectly how to guide others, how to liberate others. So this is the final step of this meditation, which is generating this very beautiful mind of bodhicitta, generating the wish to become a Buddha in order to guide all beings perfectly, unmistakenly. Let us try to give rise to this most beautiful mind by thinking, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Try to generate this in your heart. Now we can gently come out of the meditation. And we can think that any good thoughts that we had tonight, any effort we have engaged in at the beginning, trying to develop our concentration, in the second part, trying to open our heart, all that energy that we have amassed this evening, we can, in our minds, dedicate it towards that goal of, becoming free from any kind of suffering, achieving perfect happiness, achieving the state of a Buddha very, very soon, so that we can help others in the best way very soon. You can also think that whatever heart opening we already had, may that, keep on opening and never close. However much bodhicitta we have generated, may it never go down, but always increase. And similarly, whatever wisdom we have acquired, wisdom in terms of seeing reality as it is, empty of objective existence, may that wisdom never decline, but always increase. And may our spiritual teachers, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama, have a very long life, so that they may continue, to guide us, to help us by teaching. And similarly, our teachers who recently passed away, for example, here, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, the image here, and also here, together with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So he's the co-founder, of Tushita and the whole organization. So he showed the aspect of passing away now a little bit over 2 years ago. And we are now praying, for Rinpoche, to come back, in a new body, to continue his activities. You might know His Holiness the Dalai Lama is known as the 14th Dalai Lama. In the Tibetan culture, there is this tradition of finding the reincarnation of such enlightened masters. So similarly, Lama Zopa Rinpoche was actually the reincarnation of the Laudo Lama. And now we are praying for Rinpoche to come back again. A few months back, His Holiness is actually taking responsibility to find the reincarnation of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And a few months back, he observed that there are signs that Rinpoche is already reborn in Nepal. But now we still have, to accumulate the merits, to create good actions, to have the fortune to actually find the reincarnation of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, so that he can continue, to teach and lead this huge worldwide organization. Finally, let us dedicate all the good energy that we have accumulated this evening, so that all the wars that are happening in the world immediately come to an end. May there be no new war. May there be no famine. May there be no epidemic, natural catastrophes, natural disasters. And may peace and happiness be experienced by each and everyone. So thank you very much for joining us this evening and trying to meditate. And this is the first session after our summer break. Tomorrow we have here and also online another session, which is a practice of purification, purifying the negative actions we have done in the past, the negative karmas. That is called Vajrasattva, purification meditation. So this is at the same time tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. online in person. Then on Wednesday, you might have seen, if you have been to Dharamshala or Kathmandu, if you have been to Tibetan monasteries, you might have seen monks debating, analyzing the teachings in a verbal way with others to deepen our understanding of, and so that it also doesn't remain an entral, just a superficial understanding, but so that it becomes a solid understanding to debate, to discuss the teachings. So on Wednesday, we have an online session, which is an introduction to that art of debating. So that will be online, 6:30 p.m. as well, on Wednesday. And then every week, Wednesday is like the first session to learn how to debate. How does it work? And then every week on Wednesday, if you wish, you can carry on with different exercises debating. Some people report that it's like, they don't feel like they're taking an online class, but that they're playing a game, you know? It's very, it's actually a very fun way to learn, very fun way to develop our minds. So that's on Wednesday. And then again, next Monday, next Tuesday, we have different sessions. You can check our calendar on our website and our announcements. And then in September, we will have visiting teachers. We will have, on the 8th of September, we will have Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdul. Then on the 13th of September, we'll have Venerable Geshe Tenzin Zopa. And on the 15th, we'll have Kabir Saxena, who will, you know, all of them will give different teachings that have been passed from generation to generation from the Buddha. And we will have more and more visiting teachers. September, October, more and more are coming. And as soon as we know, we'll announce that as well. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Don't forget to take your book on the way. And if you donate it, please approach Prabhu or me to collect also these 2 books. Thank you so much. Have a good night.